The music industry isn't just broken, it's rigged. For decades, monopolies have tightened their grip, leaving musicians with less control, lower pay, and fewer opportunities. Live Nation dominates live events, driving up ticket prices and taking an unfair share of revenue. Streaming platforms like Spotify barely pay artists enough to survive, whilst record labels have shifted to exploitative 360 deals which take a cut of everything an artist earns. But what if musicians and fans could take the industry back into their own hands? The problem is, musicians today face an uphill battle. Live performances were once a reliable source of income for artists. They're now controlled by corporate giants like Live Nation, leaving artists with just a fraction of ticket revenues. Streaming platforms offer artists visibility but little sustainability. Spotify pays artists just a fraction of a penny per stream, making it nearly impossible for artists to survive, let alone thrive. Then there's the record labels. Once these were seen as a pathway to success for many artists, but now they're seen as more of a trap. Contracts are filled with hidden fees, studio costs, promotional expenses, and even tour costs. And all of these fees are deducted from the same advance that they give the artists up front, leaving the artists in debt to the same companies that are meant to support them. Fans don't fare much better either. They're paying more for less as ticket prices soar and streaming platforms prioritize algorithmic, disposable music over authentic artistry. The industry is structured to benefit a select few at the top, whilst everybody else, fans and artists alike, lose out. This is why I'm in favour of a cooperative business model, and I believe it should be the standard for society. Not saying all businesses, but I believe it should be the standard because a co-op is owned by its members, and generally the members are the workers or the customers. So please remember that point because that's important. A co-op, also known as a cooperative, is owned and controlled by its members. Unlike traditional corporations where decision-making is controlled by external shareholders, cooperatives prioritize the needs of their members, whether that's workers, consumers, or both. Each member has an equal vote, profits are shared equitably, and the focus is on sustainable success rather than short-term gains. Co-ops are not some utopian fantasy, they're proven to work. Studies show 76% of cooperatives survive their first 5 years compared to just 42% of traditional businesses. They're more resilient to economic downturns and create stronger community ties as profits stay within the local community rather than being funneled offshore. Cooperatives could revolutionize the music industry by putting control back into the hands of those who create and consume music. Stay with me because I've got some ideas for how this can be achieved. Imagine these possibilities. Studio co-ops. Musicians collectively own recording studios, sharing access to high-quality facilities without exorbitant fees. They can also generate an income by renting the studio to non-members, ensuring sustainability. Now let's talk about platform co-ops. Platform co-ops, owned by artists and fans, could disrupt monopolies held by companies like Spotify and Ticketmaster. Look at Resonate, for example. Resonate provides a real-world example of how co-ops can prioritize fair pay and shared decision-making. By focusing on models like Stream to Own, these platforms empower listeners and musicians alike. You could also have cooperative ticketing platforms. A co-op alternative to Ticketmaster could offer transparency and fair fees while redirecting more revenue to artists and venues. Fans would benefit from clearer ticket pricing, and venues could retain more control over ticket sales without burdensome exclusivity clauses. Now let's talk about marketing and distribution co-ops. Artists pool their resources together to amplify their reach without the predatory cuts taken by traditional labels. Collaborative efforts mean lower costs and higher impact, and joint advertising campaigns could promote multiple artists at once, maximizing exposure. Now let's talk about fan-owned models. Fans co-own platforms or venues, gaining unique perks like cheaper ticket prices, interaction with artists, or voting rights on platform features. This model cultivates deeper connections between fans and artists, turning support into a meaningful partnership. Now we can talk about venue co-ops. A co-op network of live performance spaces could challenge Live Nation's dominance. Artists and fans collectively owning venues would allow local communities to reclaim control of live events, prioritizing cheaper ticket prices and diverse lineups. Unlike Live Nation venues that often rely on Ticketmaster for ticketing, co-op venues could partner with ethical ticketing co-ops for a seamless and fair system. The great thing about this is it doesn't just create fair conditions, it also creates deeper connections between artists and audiences. Some people are going to argue that co-ops can't compete with corporate giants or that musicians are too scattered to organise effectively, but history tells a different story. There are examples that prove this works. Earlier, you might have heard me mention Resonate. Resonate is a streaming platform owned by artists, listeners, and workers. Founded in 2015, it operates on a stream-to-own model. This means that musicians are fairly compensated over time rather than relying on meagre fractions of a penny offered by platforms like Spotify. Resonate's democratic structure ensures that major decisions are made by its members, prioritizing artists' livelihoods and fans' experiences over profits. While it's still growing, I think Resonate offers a blueprint for how co-ops can disrupt exploitative digital industries. Now let's talk about pirate radio stations. In the UK in the 1980s and 1990s, pirate radio stations played a crucial role in democratizing the airwaves. Often operating as informal co-ops, they gave a voice to marginalized communities and were instrumental in popularizing genres like jungle, garage, and grime. These stations worked outside of the constraints of corporate radio, driven by passion and community collaboration rather than profit. Stations like Rinse FM began as pirate radio stations but have since evolved into legitimate broadcasters, proving that grassroots efforts can shape entire industries. Now, you're going to hear me mentioning this example a lot on this channel because it's such a fantastic example of what is possible within just a short space of time with this model, not just for a business but for a community. So this is the Mondragon Corporation. Founded in 1956 in the Basque region of Spain, Mondragon is the world's largest cooperative with over 80,000 worker owners across various industries, including retail, manufacturing, and finance. Mondragon's success lies in its democratic structure. Each member has an equal vote, and profits are reinvested back into the community or shared equally amongst its members. During economic downturns, Mondragon retrains its workers rather than laying them off, ensuring long-term stability. Its ability to scale proves that co-ops aren't just viable, they can outperform traditional corporations in resilience and community impact. Now let's move on to United Musicians Cooperative, UMC. UMC is a lesser known but vital example of how co-ops can thrive in the music industry. Based in Austin, Texas, UMC provides its members with affordable access to resources like distribution networks, marketing, and recording studios. By pooling resources, members can achieve professional-grade results without this crippling costs associated with traditional record labels. UMC cultivates a culture of collaboration between artists, creating a network that values creativity over competition. I want you to imagine a music industry where the power doesn't lie with monopolistic corporations, but it actually lies with the fans and the artists themselves. Co-ops can create a world where musicians don't just survive, they thrive. With fair pay, artistic freedom, and ownership over their careers, they can create the kind of music they truly care about, without the pressure to conform to commercial trends. Fans wouldn't be just consumers, they'd be co-creators. Through co-ownership of platforms, venues, and recording studios, fans could directly support the artists they love whilst benefiting from cheaper prices, exclusive perks, and a real say in how the industry operates. Without profits being funneled into offshore accounts or bloated bonuses, money stays in the hands of those who create it, creating a more sustainable and ethical system. Most importantly, I don't want you to forget that this idea is not theoretical. There are examples that I've mentioned today, like the Mondragon Corporation in Spain, that show that more equitable, fairer structures are possible. And with co-ops, the music industry could lead the way for other industries to follow.